I'm going to try to be on mute for a lot of the time. Hi, Richard.
Hi.
Hi, Dick.
Hi, Al.
Hi, Rick.
Hello.
Is that Eileen or Leanne?
It's Eileen.
Oh, hi, Eileen.
Hi.
Happy day for
Fred.
Valentine's Day.
I'm hiding behind the picture. Oh, wow. So did everybody vote?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Good evening, Chris.
Evening. It's quite a, I spent about an
See
hour
ya.
to the president of Russian Hill. So you should have just received the copy of that. To Rogers. Yeah.
I answered Diana, as you know. Hi, Claire.
Hi, Claire. Hi, Dave.
Hi, Dick.
Everything working so far. Hi, Dave.
Mr. Hall, I haven't seen you in years.
I know.
How are
It's
you?
great. It's great to see you, Chris.
Yeah, long time no see. I'm up in Yountville now, you know.
I know.
And actually, I'm in the skilled nursing facility recovering from a hip operation. I broke my hip in December.
Dexter,
Ouch.
Yeah, exactly.
stop it.
Hi, Claire.
Hi, Chris. Charles, why is number 2, did you vote by mail? What does that have to do with our meeting? I don't understand that question.
This is a dumb question that we came up with to ask.
I'm just curious to see how many people voted by mail as opposed to voted in person.
Oh, are you talking about today's election?
Yeah, right. It's just a typical government elections committee meeting type question.
Yeah,
Well,
so
I
how
can-
does
I
it
can-
relate to our meeting tonight?
The voting has nothing to do with tonight's meeting yet.
Oh,
But
okay.
Charles, I can tell you this, that as of last night,
I
only
just-
24% of the voters had voted. So it's going to be a low
Wow.
turnout election.
Some of us voted a month ago. That's why it's like, what are you
Yeah, I
asking?
voted
And why
weeks
does
ago.
it relate to anything we're doing?
Because you voted by mail.
Yes, but did it have to do with a vote that's involved in our meeting tonight? It's
No,
not.
I said it was a dumb
It
question.
obviously is. Okay, thank you for
It's a
clarifying.
typical government elections committee meeting question.
But we're not in government and elections, we're in CSFN.
Never
We are
mind.
dealing with
I think we're in the far
Governor-
side right
I
now.
it just doesn't relate to tonight's meeting in any way, I guess. Okay,
No.
thank you.
Hi, Greg.
Hello.
Hi, Mary.
Two
I see your
Greg.
friend,
That's-
Oh,
Rick
two Gregs.
Paulson.
There's another Greg. There's a Gregory.
Yes.
Sorry.
That's okay. Hi, Ann.
Hi, everybody.
Well, one Greg is an L. Gregory Scott. L.
Well,
Gregory.
One of them is a Scott. Let's put it
El
that way.
Grego.
Hi, Greg.
Bonsoir.
Hi,
Both.
tired.
You can blame the L on my mother. She named me after her father, and I've never was called my first name in my life.
Oh, good for you.
I have the
Endless
same
confusion.
issue, Greg.
I always like it when people have initials that they can never explain. Very good. And Chris, how are you doing? How's the rehab coming?
Well, I'm now walking. Baby steps, like about 100 feet,
Good.
about 1 foot at a time.
Good.
But I'm using a walker now.
And
Well,
but
right now I'm in a wheelchair.
Hi, George.
right, but your shoulder was also broken, right?
It's fractured. It's much better. Thank you.
Okay, so
And my hand was in a splint for like a,
yeah, because
it's still a
all
little bit, not quite there.
okay, because those things interfere with your ability to support your weight while trying to walk and using a walker. So that's why I'm asking about.
Well, no, they've done
children.
they've been very aggressive on the occupational and the physical therapy. Probably more than I'd like,
Yeah, right.
to be honest, but it's just amazing. I mean, I was able to push up with my left leg to reposition myself in bed the other day, and I said, my goodness, I have made progress.
Yeah, actually, if you can move yourself around, that's big progress. Yeah. They're good there then. You're very fortunate.
Well, I am. I'll be here for about another month and a half or 2 months.
Wow.
Okay. Because one friend she had a hip replacement and she spent, I think it was 2.5 months in rehab, and they only wanted to give her a month, either 4 or 6.
Oh,
And
did the insurance cover it?
she fought, and they did ultimately. Yeah, it's city and
Good.
county, so it's our insurance. But she had to put up a good fight because their attitude was, you can go home. And she's like, I have 13 steps to my front door. Are you kidding? She still can't drive. So
Well, that's the other thing, Claire, that, I had to go up 15 steps when I lived in San Francisco, and
Yes.
here I don't have any steps.
yeah, big difference, doesn't it? Big difference. Yeah.
So we're gonna have to start muting ourselves soon and start the meeting. So
There's a
Charles,
guy named Lee Robbins who looks a lot like George Wooding. George must have
that's
Yeah,
true.
what's
Yeah.
going on here?
Are you using somebody else's computer or?
It's possible.
There's 2 Charles heads also.
Well, I never look so good.
Are you wearing a vest? It looks like it.
I am. Or at least Lee is.
Dean. So is the second Charles head Leanne by any chance? Are you on the phone twice, Charles? Are you on the phone? Is that you?
Yeah, I'm on my phone too.
Okay.
So you're
I'll just
936?
There's Mary, there's Owen. Okay, we're getting there. So when do we want to start the meeting?
So
Give it
that's not
another-
our usual
there's-
caller. That's not Eileen.
No, Eileen is the 3936.
Yeah, that's the phone that's on. Okay.
Right, and then the other one, I guess Charles is on phone too or something. I don't know how that works. And I'm hiding behind the picture here. Because I'm your secretary for the night. Sort of.
Oh, so you're being the secretary. Oh, okay. So we don't have our usual. Okay.
But we should start muting ourselves and get ready for the meeting. Right?
Up to the chair.
Okay,
Do we have a quorum yet?
sorry?
We might have 15 or 16. I think it's 16 people. What do we need for a quorum?
I think that's enough. So if Rick's gonna do the voting for me, that means you don't count both of us, right? Do you count the alternates when you're counting the quorum?
If the delegate isn't here, you do.
All right, we
Like, I
got a
don't have a
delegate.
delegate here, so I'm the delegate. The alternate becomes the delegate.
Right. For example, Maurice will be the delegate tonight to vote.
There's a terrible
Okay,
echo.
but we need to mute ourselves, and I think we're ready to start the meeting, Charles, pretty soon.
I think
Yeah,
that
you
was
can't-
Charles. Charles, you either need to mute your computer or mute your phone because
You
that
can't do both.
you can't do both.
Okay, I'll try.
One or the other.
And,
There's
turning my phone off.
Lots of echo.
Well, I thought so.
Okay, there's Al, okay.
course it is.
Let me try again. Okay. Okay. Okay, is that
No, we still hear an echo.
I think you're getting feedback from your speakers back
Okay.
into your microphone. So if you,
okay? I'm leaving the meeting on my phone.
I
Okay.
okay.
Good. Now we can hear, now, no echo. Thanks, Rick. That was good.
Okay, then, ladies and gentlemen, are we ready to start? If so, I declare the meeting begun. We have the call to order, and first we need to approve the agenda. George?
Well, yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we move the new business on number 7 right after, I think, right after Chris Bowman's speech. That way people won't have to hang out the entire meeting to vote, and we'll maintain our quorum.
Okay, thank you, George. So you're proposing to follow item 3, program on redistricting, with item 7, new business redistricting, and then go back to the original agenda.
That's correct.
Okay, great. Is there any comment, discussion on the motion to change the agenda
Now it's working.
to follow
Second the motion.
item 3 with item 7?
I second the motion, Mary.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, seeing no objections, so moved. We will now go on to item 3, program on redistricting with Chris Bowman, our distinguished bon vivant and a political activist, writer, etc., whom we have all heard before on some great occasions with his political commentaries. So, Chris, over to you.
Thank you very much. I wasn't really told how long I'm on the agenda, but I'll try to keep it short and leave it open to questions. I'm
We
here.
have the program on for 30 to 40 minutes, including
Oh,
questions and
okay.
answers at the end.
That should be good. I'll try to keep it short.
Okay, thank you.
I'm calling here from Yountville. This native San Franciscan retired to the Veterans Home. And unfortunately, I broke my hip back in early December. So I'm calling from the dining room of the skilled nursing facility. So if you hear any noise in the back, it's one of our residents watching TV. And I also wanted to, we mentioned at the beginning that about the election, today's election day, and the turnout as of last night was only 24%. Now that compares to about 70% for the presidential election. So I think that we'll be lucky to get a 30 to 35% of the people voting. What effect that has, I don't know. I think in all likelihood, the progressives stayed home because the progressives were divided on the recall. So enough of politics. By way of introduction, and actually George had asked me for a bio and I didn't have enough bandwidth to do it. I've worked in politics since 1976. I worked on the anti-Briggs initiative and worked on the John Anderson campaign in 1980. Worked for State Senator Milton Marks from 83 to 86 in his district office. worked as a political consultant since then, my expertise being in electoral analysis and demographics. So I was picked by Mayor Jordan to go on the Citizens Advisory Committee on Elections in '93. And he picked me again. I was wearing two hats then, or would be, on the Elections Task Force, which came up with a number of plans to change the way that we elect supervisors rather than at large. And one of them was district elections. In the fall, we drew the lines based on hearings and feedback and discussion among our task force members. And those were the lines that were used in 2000. There was redistricting, and all 11 supervisors were elected at that time. So people that didn't want to run, that were at large and want to run, they didn't run. For instance, Barbara Kaufman lived in District 3, but she retired rather than run. Aaron Peskin got elected. So fast forward to 2 years, we have our first redistricting. The only controversial aspect, two controversial aspects, was that USF had been divided into 3 districts, and the task force put them together in District 1, but put all Lone Mountain all the way to Ewing Circle on Masonic into District 1, moving District 2 north. Not terribly controversial, but the major controversy was what to do with the Portland district. It was divided. 28% was in District 11, 72% was in District 10. And District 11 had to lose population, so it jettisoned its portion of the Portland. But rather than having all the district, the other 28% go to District 10, the progressives on the task force decided to move half of the Portland north of 280 into a district that includes the Intermission and Bernal Heights. Now, Mary, you'll be interested on this. The lines that they drew, I believe, put you in District 6 at the time in 2002. So it ran from about 17th down to 20th as you went farther east. So fast forward another 10 years, redistricting happened again. The Mission District was split. The Portola District was split. Our side was pushing for the Portland to be made whole in District 10, move Potrero Hill into District 6, along with Dogpatch. The progressives said, no, we want to keep Potrero Hill and Dogpatch in District 10. We'll keep the Portland, we'll unite the Portland, but we'll put all in District 10, District 9. Basically, you're talking about Asian homeowners, majority Chinese, some Filipino and Vietnamese, that are in a district that otherwise is about 20% Asian and 70% white. So effectively, their voting power has been completely diluted. But that's neither here nor there. So move forward to the census, which finally came out very late. It normally comes out like 10 months after the election, but this time it came out 16 months after, not the election, but when the census was held in April. And then they had to adjust the numbers per California law to account for prison population. So they were assigned to the area where they lived before they were put in prison. So that came out in September 22nd. The task force had its first meeting, I believe, on the 17th of September. And for months, they were basically working on bylaw amendments and procedures and outreach, but really weren't doing anything substantive from my perspective. They finally got the mapping program online. It was a very defective program. I think that Dick Frisbee can attest to that because he used it. For the life of me, I could not do an entire map without the thing starting to degrade and losing some of the data that I already put in. But I just got quicker at it. And within 2 hours, I was able to do a citywide map, which was recorded. And I did several drafts, not only of what you see today, but I did alternative drafts, like what would happen if Russian Hill was completely in District 3? What would happen if the Tenderloin went into the Western Addition as a new District 5 and concluded that in either case, it would have really deleterious effects on Districts 2, 7, and 8. And I said it's not worth it. So I decided to take an approach, a minimalist approach. It's called incremental minimum change plan, where only 73,000 San Franciscans will find themselves in a new home, in a new district after the lines are approved. And basically, communities are kept together, and districts, the socioeconomic, racial, and political makeup of the districts are essentially the same as they are now, but we balance for population. I took a minimum amount of people out of District 6 that's allowed by the law, because the larger number of people you transfer to District 3 or to District 5, the greater the ripple effects would be on every other district, including District 11. I didn't want that to happen. So District 6, under this proposal, is 104.95% of the norm, or the mean, and the mean is 100%. And you're allowed to go up to 105% or down to 95%. But we really wanted to make sure that we minimize the ripple effects on the rest of the city. And the substance of the plan is that there's sort of a two-pronged approach and then fine-tuning in the rest of the city. I moved 16,000 people from Rincon Hill and around Moscone Center, where all those people that lived on 3rd and 4th who were displaced were put into affordable housing around Moscone, and they're now mostly senior Asians. And to move 16,000 to District 3, move the bulk of 57% of Russian Hill into District 2, because at that point, District 3 is overpopulated by about 9,000 people. And that's how many people I moved. And then I moved Seacliff and the Lake Street corridor, which is about 4,600 people, from District 2 to District 1. Now we'll get back to District 2 in a moment. The other approach was to move 6,228 people or thereabouts from District west of 9th and Fulton to the freeway, the Central Freeway, from District 6 to District 5. It's 14%, more than 14% African American. District 5 right now is 9.1% African American. So I wanted to see if I could get the African American numbers up there, which I did by over a point. And that District 5 is already overpopulated by 2,000, so it meant that it had to lose territory. It lost some territory from California and DeVos up on the northern southern borders, but that was to adjust between 2 and 8 to basically make sure that all the African American pockets were in District 5, but no other reason for that. But basically, it had to lose about 9,000 people, and the only place for it to happen was the Inner Sunset. And that's been a major bone of contention with one of the members of the task of the coalition here, and I'm sure that we'll be hearing from Eileen on that. But that's a big bite to eat. District 4 is 54.25%. If all of the Inner Sunset went to District 2, it would drop by 2.5 points to 51.75% Asian. I thought it was better to basically carve up the Inner Sunset into 3 pieces, but I found out later that the city's zoning codes actually have the district starting, or the neighborhood starting on 5th, not Arguello. So 5th to 19th is only divided 2 along 12th, with the areas between 12th and 5th, plus all of the UCSF campus, 80% of it's currently in 7, going to 7, and the western portion, west of 12th, going to District 4. And the impact racially is it only drops about 0.8 of a point in Asian. So for me, it made sense. Now those were the major things. The things that are equally important to members of the coalition here is that District 11 was carved up badly in 2002 and 2012 because, believe it or not, it was overpopulated at the time. Now it's underpopulated. And so the proposal initially, the first draft, was to put all the parts that it lost from 1995 back into the district. That was doable population-wise, but then we got some pushback from the people from Etna, which is the Eagle Beak between 280, the Daly City border, Unipro Sarah, and Brotherhood Way. They wanted to remain in District 7 for whatever reason, but we'll go with that. But basically, and then there was some other feedback about the southeastern border, which we modified. So the major changes for District 11 to make it whole was the commercial strip along Ocean between Harold and, help me out, Ashton, down to Holloway would be restored to District 11. The area south of 280 between Alamani and Tingsley, north of Mission Terrace, would be put back into the district. And the area to the southeast, which is an extension of Crocker Amazon, would go all the way down to Carter. And areas there would be added. All within, so it's nearly balances for population. It's like about 0.3 of a point over, like 100.3. In District 7, I proposed also to have Pine Lake or Crest Lake because it's RH1 detached housing. The only RH1D neighborhood in the city that's outside of District 7, and it's part of the West of Twin Peaks Council. I said, well, it makes sense to put that in there as well, into District 7. Well, we got feedback from the neighborhood organization. They wanted to remain in District 4. I think the primary reason was not because they didn't feel that there's an affinity with the people south of Sloat, but that Gordon Marr lives in the district. And if that had actually happened, and this is unbeknownst to me, I didn't draw the lines to determine where the supervisors live or candidates, that basically he would be taken away out of his district. And we went through that back in 1995. We were ignorant of where the supervisors were. We drew the line north of Silver on Colby. And it just so happened that that was on the other side of the street is where Gonzalez lived. And he was planning to run in that district, in District 11. But he ended up in District 10 and he didn't run. And he blamed us for it and he voted against the plan. And he was one of the no votes, even when we placed the thing on the ballot, it was a 7-4 vote. So a couple of things I want to say that in conclusion is that our task force that we did in 95 was very diverse. I was a Republican, there was a Green Party member, there were 3 Asians, 1 Hispanic, 1 African-American lesbian, several attorneys, and you know, I'm a gay Republican, so I was doubly unique. But we were told by Hallinan, who had seen district elections fail 3 times to the polls, I want every stakeholder of the city to have a piece of the pie. So basically, we created districts in which there was a critical mass, not a majority, not a plurality, but at least a critical mass of voters of a particular group, whether they be labor, whether they be homeowners, renters, Asians, Blacks, gays, Hispanics, Republicans. We never elected a Republican, I might add, because Republican registration went to hell in the next 5 years.
Yep.
Dropped 20%. But the idea is to give everyone a stake in it. The only thing that was left over was District 6 after the rest of the city had been carved up. And it basically ran from Laguna all the way to the bay and up to Sutter and down to 17th, I might add. Actually, one block above, where Patrol Hill ends, or one block south. And, but we passed it, and it was passed unanimously by the task force. And more importantly, the voters approved it by a 57 to 43% margin, and it passed in 24 of 25 neighborhoods. And in conclusion, that with 2 redistricting since then, only one major contentious thing about the Portland district, that the lines are 91% or over 90% identical to what they were in 1995. So not only did the voters think we did the right thing, but apparently the members of the task forces of 2002 and 2012 thought we did the right thing. And if you look at the detail of what I wrote in what the plan does, one of the major themes is to restore boundaries. So restore District 11. There were about 10 other boundaries that are restored from the 1995 redistricting, because I think that we got it right the first time, it was right this time. So that's it in a nutshell. I will tell you that there are groups out there. There's San Francisco Rising, which somehow got a free plug in the newsletter. But they're probably going to be coming up with a rival plan, which will not respect neighborhoods, I believe, because they'll be looking at community interests that go that overlap districts. So it's going to be a community of interest. It's called a community unity map, but not necessarily a neighborhood unity map. The people on the right or downtown will be doing additional stuff. I've been in discussions with them, but I'm not in agreement with them. So, what you're getting is a completely independent effort to basically do the best that we can with the districts that we have, given that the city grew 70,000 people, and that minimally 22,000 people from District 6 and 4,000 people from District 10 need to be reassigned. We didn't have that problem in the previous redistrictings. We'd shift 5,000 people here, 2,000 people there, and that was it. But this is big time, and I'm trying to preserve the character of our districts as much as possible. So with that, I'll turn it over. How many minutes was that?
Okay, thank you very much, Chris.
How many minutes?
Oh, that was fine. 20 minutes. And then we've got 10 more minutes for Q&A. Before we do Q&A, let me just remind people that delegates for CSFN member organizations have the first opportunity to ask questions. And then if there's any time remaining for people who are guests, that will be their time to ask questions. Okay, everyone understand that? So let us go to the first question. I'm a little limited here, so you'll have to bear with me and either raise your hand, your blue hand on the screen, or just raise your hand like I'm doing right now. And help me out here. I'm not seeing any hands up right now.
Okay, Barbara, and then Lee Robbins, and then Richard Frisbee.
Barbara, and then who, and then Dick?
Then Lee Robbins, and then Dick, with the hands out. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, whatever. Yeah, Mary Harris too.
Okay. So, who was that first again?
I am Barbara.
Barbara. Okay, thank you, Barbara.
Hey, thanks,
Welcome.
Charles. You mentioned District 2. I'm just wondering whether you can just clarify any changes or points about District 2.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, District 2, we adjusted. If you look at the boundary with District 5, it's a jigsaw puzzle. It is in my school on redistricting, that would have been considered a gerrymander, and it is. And the lines were actually drawn to include, one of the service centers, which is African American, which is right on Presidio. But if you look at the neighborhood, it's 2% Black. I'm just telling you like it is. And then you had other areas that were to the east of Steiner that had like, Buddhist temples or Shinto temples or nonprofits that were Japanese. And, yeah, they're there. The Japanese aren't. You may have Japantown, but Japanese are less than 2% of the Asians that live in District 5. It's mostly Chinese, followed by Koreans and Filipinos. So, but that's how the lines were driven. The task force was so inclined to basically do symbolic things at the expense of, I think, the density of the African American population and the Asian population in the district. A lot of whites were added into it from lower Pacific Heights. And so we made adjustments. The areas between Baker and Steiner goes all the way up to California. But east of Steiner, it drops down to Sutter, or to Bush is the boundary to Van Ness. And it's based strictly on demographics. I included 5 blocks west of Baker because there's strong emphasis at the hearing on District 5 to keep the service center there and whatever potential housing they might be building. But again, that actually lowered the Black CBAP by 0.12 of a point to do that. In the South, I did the same thing. I adjusted the border basically from Waller and Herman up to Haight in most of the areas. Again, expanding District 8, but basically consolidating the African American precincts or blocks so we could get their numbers up. That was basically what I did with District 2. In the Western Addition, now obviously, District, I was the author. I claim I did it, and I took slings and arrows for it back in '95. It was a grand compromise between the Republicans and the conservatives on the task force and the Asian community to put Seacliff and Lake Street into District 2 and to make District 1 a more Asian district. Things have changed. One, Republicans are no more in the city. We were 17% of the population at the time that the lines were drawn, and we are now 6.7%. So that's not a factor. The second thing is that at the time, Seacliff and Lakeshore, or Lakeside, not Lakeside, but Lake Corridor, was 6% Asian. It's now 22% Asian, and Seacliff itself is 28% Asian. The District 1 is 42% Asian. So the inclusion of these neighborhoods into the district only lowers Asian CBAP by 1.05%. Now, I was dead set against that even, I worked for the realtors with their plan 10 years ago, and I insisted that that line remain as it was, that we did in '95, because I didn't think that anything had significantly changed. But now District 1 is significantly underpopulated. It needs to pick up minimally 4,000, 4,500 people. And I looked at the alternative, which would be to go down to NOPA, and NOPA is only 12% Asian. So if you added NOPA, even on a limited basis, you'd lower the Asian population down to 40.3%. If you put all of NOPA in, it would lower it down to 39.1%. So we did not go that route. And again, I think that's what we did with District 2.
Thank you.
Does that help?
Yeah, you did. You mentioned Russian Hill.
Well, okay, on Russian Hill. So Russian Hill, it was just simply a matter that we need to move enough people out of District 6, and there's only 3 places that it can go. It can only go to District 9, which already was picking up people in District 10, or it can go to 5, or it can go to 3. There are no other surrounding districts. So if District 3 did not take its fair share of people, and I might add that demographically, they're more Asian than District 3 is. you have all those seniors that live around Moscone that are 80% Asian, mostly Chinese, some Filipino. And then around between third and fourth, you have a Filipino senior housing. And the people that moved into Rincon Hill is heavily Chinese and Native and East Indian. So it's a good fit for District 3. But, and I would argue that as far as Russian Hill goes, and I didn't get a chance to really expand this on Ms. Rogers, who's the president of the Russian Hill Neighbors, in the email I sent her, that, you know, she lists all these commonalities that she has with the Northeast neighborhoods. She didn't talk about the commonalities she has with the Marina and Port Mason and Cow Hollow. And I would argue that, you know, maybe that's their preference, but even District 2 would be a good fit for them. So that's why we had to move people out. We weren't going to adjust the border of the Tenderloin, because that was fought over 10 years ago with basically the housing activists saying, these are the lines, don't change them. So the only other place was to move Russian Hill out.
Thank you.
Okay, Chris, we're going to have to go on to the next question.
Lee Robbins.
Pardon
Mary
me if
Harris,
I'm
Dave
out of
Osgood,
order,
and
but
Dave-
Mary, what?
You've got Lee Robbins, Mary Harris, Dave Osgood, and Jared
Okay, well,
Hessler.
Wait a minute. I
Lee,
was
did you
in
want to
there
speak
somewhere.
now or later?
I can speak now. So should I go ahead?
Go ahead, Lee.
Okay, so I am here representing the Barbary Coast neighborhood and to some extent representing Russian Hill. And what I want to explain is that
Okay, but
we
Lee, are
are
you
very
speaking to
unhappy.
ask Chris, are you speaking to ask Chris a question about what he's presented? Or are you here to speak about the emergency motion, which will come up later in the
I'm
program?
speaking about what he's presenting.
Okay.
Okay, go.
And
I'm ready for your question.
Okay, so I've sent the basic thing, and I just sent off the basic thing in the chat. Hopefully, if we're having serious computer problems too. So both Russian Hill and the Barbary Coast neighborhood are very unhappy with the way that it is being split up. I'm sure that the intentions are good, and I recognize the other problems, but what's happening is that we're the neighborhood. I mean, actually, you know, I live here, of course, and Russian Hill just seems part of this to me because of my leg issues. I don't walk up there, but it does. And the way this is being shifted does not seem like that. And it seems like we are being moved to areas where with populations which are not similar. And I don't know whether it's made it through, because sometimes I find it hard to get these things to work. Yes, okay, it went through in the chat. So basically, both we and Russian Hill think that if there's going to be a connection, it should be connecting us and not separating us. And we're feeling like we are being separated from the areas that we are like. And we have, in fact, presented a separate redistricting proposal for District 3. And, you know, we have not had time to be involved in the CSFN process. And that is, you know, and I'm not the one that's been centrally involved in this. We have someone who's done, like Christopher, a great deal of work on political kinds of issues. And he is the one that do it. A map has been submitted. We did send that off, though only very recently, because I only got the information that this was happening very recently, and had asked, and I don't know if it's happened, that it be distributed to the members before the meeting or at the meeting, so that they would have that input. So that's my basic.
That's your comment and your question. May I respond?
Sure. Okay. Yeah, that's it, Chris.
Very quickly, I'll respond. You mentioned about the demographics and the character of Russian Hill versus District 2 and District 3. if you look, and I don't think that was included in the packet, but if you look at the demographics, the racial breakdown of Russian Hill, the portion that I sent, transferred about 9,200 people to District 2, the demographics are more similar to District 2 than they are to District 3. And let me give you an example. It's 28% Asian in that portion of Russian Hill. District 2 before then was 16%. It becomes 18% with that inclusion. Whites are over 60%. District, District 2 is about 72%. Whites are under 50% in District 1 or District 3. I would argue that it is closer demographically to that portion of Russian Hill than it is to remaining in District 3. And then when you add the western part, northwestern part of Russian Hill to District 3, it's even less reflective of the rest of District 3. So I would disagree with you on that level. Part of the problem is that the Russian Hill neighbors dropped out of their membership 2 years ago. I'm certain that if they had been a member, they would have been contacted early on in the process. But I didn't have the bandwidth to go beyond, coalition members. And I started, again, I'll be honest, with District 11, because that's the one that got screwed over the most over the last 2 redistrictings. And then District 7 had a problem because it's underpopulated. And we had to find a way to basically maintain the character of that neighborhood or that district. And then District 4. So quite frankly, what happened with Russian Hill, the other thing is I did some maps, and I've asked Chairman or President Rogers of the Russian Hill neighbors, don't just do a district map. In isolation, District 11 could do a map and it would look perfectly fine, but you have to see what are the effects on the rest of the city. And the problem is that they don't take any. And I heard people advocate at the hearing to not go beyond market. If they don't take anyone from Rincon Hill, those people then are funneled into District 9, which screws the Hispanics, or it goes into District 5, and it screws all the surrounding, it creates ripple effects for Districts 2, 1, 4, 7, 8, and 9. So, if you can come up with a plan that, one, keeps only 73,000 people moving to another district and keeps the character of the neighborhoods and the districts as they are now and balances for population, putting all Russian Hill into District 3, more power to you. I'll endorse it if you do that, but you're not there yet.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
And quite frankly, I understand that the executive committee of Russian Hill neighbors weren't there either until a week ago, long after the process was over. They wanted to get the district united, the neighborhood united in one district or the other, but they didn't land on District 3 until a week ago.
Okay, thank you. We're running out of time, so we're going to have to go on to Mary Harris and then to Dave Osgood.
Hey, I got dropped out. I was third originally, Charles, and I just disappeared.
Ladies first.
I'll just mute and go home.
No.
He raised his hand physically, and he was in the mix.
Yeah, I'll get to you, Dick.
Anyway, Chris, I just wondered if you had the same suspicions I do about San Francisco Rising. Are they trying to work the boundaries for future candidates? I suddenly, after years, heard from John Avalos wanting me to sign on to their map, and just raised suspicions to me. And I just want to appreciate all the work you've done while you're on the mend, reaching out and talking to people and getting their input.
Well, so thank you, Mary. That was a testimonial more than a question.
No, but do you think that's what they're up to?
No, but let me finish.
We need to know. Yeah.
San Francisco Rising has a counterpart in San Mateo County. I was hired it's all basically liberal or progressive nonprofits and a couple of other, special interests. But they had their counterpart in San Mateo County. The map, there are 20 incorporated cities and towns, and they divided 10 of them in the first draft map that they did. And their idea was to basically break down the power, any power that's there, so that the nonprofits have a direct link to the supervisors. And I think that what you're going to find, now I haven't seen the map, so I can't attest to it. But I think what they're going to do is try to break down the power of districts 2 and 7. And they're going to divide neighborhoods that they don't particularly like, or put them in grouped together with neighborhoods where their voting power is. Now, I will tell you, that's exactly what the progressives did with the Portland district. The Portland district is basically moderate to conservative, Asian homeowners, first generation Chinese mostly, and they don't vote like progressives, but they all got dumped into the most progressive district of the city to dilute their voting power. And I think that San Francisco Rising very well might do that. There are other plans that I saw called the equity plan that would basically not allow any district to have more than 46% non-Hispanic whites in any district. Now, talk about racial gerrymandering. And if you looked at a map, it was like a schizophrenic where someone on acid had drawn the lines. Like they had part of Silver Terrace, Bernal Heights, and I think Glen Park or Upper Noe in the same district. I mean, it was dreadful. And if you look at it, like
let's go on to
September.
Let's go on to Dave Osgood.
Okay, sorry, I'll go on.
Yeah, hi, Chris. Thank you. 2 questions, so if you could keep the answers brief, that's fine. How much outreach to CSFN member groups did you do? Because I don't think we were contacted. And can you elaborate a little bit about the process?
What group are you with?
That you haven't written about? I mean, my assumption is that the redistricting committee will just do their own maps. So how does your map affect that?
Yeah, Dave, you were correct that I had limited bandwidth. I did start, I would say that I extensively talked with people from districts 11, 7, 4, and also with 2 and 1. And, beyond that, and I modified the map several times based on the feedback that I got. I also listened to the District 5 and the District 6 hearings, where there was a lot of public testimony from neighborhood groups. So I was informed basically from about 7 different districts. The ones that I didn't really go after were the ones where I didn't really make any changes. So that's fundamentally, I mean, District 8, I didn't go. District 9, I didn't make any changes. District 10, I didn't make any major changes. So that's fundamentally it. But and you're absolutely right. The task force, based on the input that they'll get, and I'm sure that Eileen will have her plan, that we already have the plan that will be fleshed out in District 3. And the task force will have to weigh that, all the conflicting testimony, and balance that. And then they'll start their line drawing on the 4th of March after the first series of hearings are over. And I presume that when they're finished with that around the 15th, that the draft map will be printed. Then all bets are off. That's why we want to get this in today or tomorrow, so we'll have input. If we wait beyond that point, it's too late. And if anyone suggests that we should wait until March, forget it. At that time, we're going to be responding to the draft map and doing tweaks here and there. And the draft map will be very close to what the final map looks like, based on the last 3 hearings.
Okay, thank you for making that point, Chris.
Yeah.
Did somebody say Leanne was trying to get in the conversation?
What happened to Dick?
Yeah,
What happened to
Dick's
who?
turn. Dick's turn.
Richard
Oh,
Frisbee.
Dick, okay. Dick Frisbee.
Yes, I'm in District 2. We did a map and, you know, some cases it was similar to Chris's, some cases it was different. And so I started digging in deeper and deeper. And what I realized is everything you move has an effect somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I concluded that you can't just draw your district. If all your effort is just to draw your district without taking into account what it does everywhere else, then that is not going to be helpful, and task force is probably going to throw it away. It is really, really confusing and convoluting. Spent a lot of time with Chris, got far more educated than I wanted to. But the one thing that did occur to me is if you see the maps that have already been submitted, there's some pretty bizarre maps being submitted that I don't think any of us would like. If CSFN, who does have some cachet with the city and with groups within it, can't get in a map, then every other special interest group will have a map in, and they will have more influence on the final map than we will. So whatever we don't like, and if we can't support it, that's okay. But if CSFN does not get a map in, we will simply be in a weaker position than every other special interest group that gets their map in first. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dick.
Well said.
Now, before we go on, I see a couple of people have hands raised, but they may not be CSFN members. Are there any other CSFN members that have a point to make at this time? Because we only have time for about one or two more questions before we go on to the next part.
Dave Osgood, Epler, and Wellbun.
I'm sorry? What, Claire?
Dave Osgood, J.R. Epler, Tess Wellbun.
Tess is not a member.
Okay.
Dave has already asked this question, I believe.
That's right.
You got one question, no follow-up.
So it's J.R.
Okay, are there any other?
Epler?
Yeah, I mean, I can speak if there are no other CSFN members. I don't want to step on your process, but not seeing anyone raising their hand. Mr. Bowman, how far off is District 10? Is it above target or below target population as you've drawn it?
Yes, as I drew it, it's close to target.
Yeah.
It is right now, according to, and we differ with our stats, because what happened was that they divided census blocks that are on the border of districts. And the consultant had a way of dividing up the census block. We divided them differently, but the consultant seems to believe that District 10 is 8.65% above 100%. But that means it's 3.65% above being legal. And that means that you need to lose at least 3,000 people.
Okay.
And there are two areas where you had major growth. One was basically in the Northeast Mission, and quite frankly, at Showplace Square. I remember when they built the housing there. And so those are the areas where you had the growth. And quite frankly, that's where I reduced. Well, I also moved like about 400 people or 500 people into District 11 over by the Cow Palace, by Carter. But those were the major changes that we made on 9. But we drew the line at 16th rather than all the way up to, and it had to be done. You had to lose people. And, you know, I heard the hearing that they had where they said, oh, take it out of Visitation Valley. I'm sorry. That's just more Chinese you're going to throw down a rat hole, you know, because you already did that to the Portland district.
Yeah, so I live in the area called Northwest Potrero Hill, the one that you're splitting off from the rest of Potrero Hill right now in your map. That's the area between Potrero Avenue and Highway 101, north of General Hospital.
Yeah, that's an issue. And our original lines in 1995 had at the freeway that we moved to Potrero, and I think it's been at Potrero since then. And you know, it was explained to me by Babette Drepke, who's no longer with us, but she was a great delegate here. But she didn't testify back in '95, and she explained that they destroyed 900 houses to create the hospital curve. And she said, basically from an emotional standpoint, that the portal starts at Portola or at,
Patrol Avenue. Yeah.
Patrol Avenue.
So I'm also president of the
but
Patrol
the thing is,
Districts
the
Neighborhood Association.
demographics are not quite a match for either the Mission or for Patrol Hill. It's changed over 50 years.
So,
Okay.
so the area.
We're going to have to go
on. Part, I'm president.
Your advocacy is that you would like to see everything from Patrol Hill or from Patrol all the way over to the Bay in the district. What about north of 16?
So we also, there's not a lot of population in Showplace Square. That's north of 16th. A lot of the growth has been in Potrero Hill, south of 16th Street.
No. The growth is, there's 2,300 people.
Right.
That live north
Mr. Bowman, I'm the president of the Potrero Districts Neighborhood Association. I personally negotiated the developments that have gone on in my neighborhood. So allow me to educate you on our neighborhood a little bit.
All right.
At the hearing that you missed, there was a lot of testimony about keeping our neighborhood together. In fact, if you go to the redistricting website, you'll see that 21 of the 30 comments on communities of interest are advocating maintaining a contiguous Potrero Hill, Dog Patch, and Showplace Square within a district. We have certain affinities, but they should be together as a single neighborhood. I mean, we understand that the area south of General Hospital, you can make a colorable case, could be in District 9, but the areas north of General Hospital and to the extent possible, Showplace Square, if you have to cut the northern part of Showplace Square off, that may make sense. But you have a California College of the Arts that has students living in Potrero Hill and a campus in Showplace Square.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, you have a lot of different pieces that are associated with Potrero Hill because they are cut off by 280.
Gentlemen, we need to cut you off. There are other people that want to ask
questions. The point I would make, though, is you need to move 3,000 people. If you don't do that with what you propose, it doesn't begin. That dog don't hunt.
Well, and I'm offering solutions to that may not bifurcate our neighborhood the way that you decided to try to do it.
Well, you should produce them to the task force then.
Okay, gentlemen, we're going to have to go on to the last question now. We'll go to the lady, Jean Barish. And then we'll have to cut this off.
Thank you, Charles. First of all, Christopher, I'm really impressed with the work you did. I don't know how you managed to figure out where everybody should be equally distributed. I have a question I'm not sure you can answer, and then I guess a comment. You said you spoke to people in D1. I'm the only guest from D1 that's ever come to CSFN meetings. Are you able to say who else you spoke to? Because you didn't speak to me.
I actually spoke with a couple of neighborhood people that I knew, quite frankly, Marie Harabio. There's a few others.
Right.
They're mostly Republicans, I'm going to tell you, but we don't currently have a chapter or a member of the coalition.
No, I'm aware of that, Chris. And,
that's the problem. And my methodology was.
You're right.
My methodology was to go to the ones that we had.
Right. Okay. I just was surprised when you said you spoke to D1 and I wasn't one of the people you spoke to.
No, I didn't even know that you lived in District 1, quite frankly.
That's okay. That's all right. No harm, no foul. I'm representing a number of individuals, all of whom are concerned about the inclusion of Seacliff. And you distinguished the demographics of Seacliff by saying that the Asian population has changed and therefore you would have less of an impact on the Seacliff if you on the demographics of the Richmond of D1 if you included the Asians, included the Seacliff people rather than if you didn't and drew people from some other district. But I'm not sure I understand. Is the only demographic factor that matters ethnicity or race? What about socioeconomic issues, which are a clear distinction within the Seacliff versus the rest of the Richmond district? Don't economic issues also count?
I answer your question that I don't think the NOPA is a good match for the Richmond district either. If you're going to go that way, and it's even less of a good match because of the demographics. Well,
what demographics are you talking about?
I think race. I think one of the things that we took into account primarily was to create 3 districts in which Asians could get elected. This is back in '95. District 3, District 1, and District 4. District 4 had a plurality of Asians. There was a critical mass. I don't know whether whites were where whites were versus Asians back then, but Asians were a lot higher, both in District 1 and in District 3 than they are currently. So they're on a downward slide. They probably dropped about 5 points in both districts in the last 20 years, 25 years. And so I tried it both with District 4, with the way I did my plan, and District 1 to minimize the reduction of Asians in the district. Any other alternative would have accelerated that drop by 3-fold. And so it's the same thing for NOPA. NOPA, if you put NOPA and Anza Vista into that district as an alternative to Seacliff and Lake Street, you drop Asians by another 2 points. You drop it down to 39.11%. At that point, you could have lawsuits based on the Voting Rights Act. And the same thing, like, it's not going to happen in District 5, because even if all of the inner Sunset goes to District 5 or District 4, it's not going to drop below 50%. But you could very well get, if it had gone below 50%, you very well could have gotten a lawsuit on that. And we don't know where the courts are at this point. The California courts are fairly outspoken, aren't they?
I think we've heard from the Supreme Court. I'm not so sure the Voting Act right would. The Voting
We're going
Rights
to have
Act
to end the
would hold up.
conversation here, people. We've spent more than our allotted time on this, and more so. We need to go on to the next part of the meeting. Thank you, Christopher. Thank you all for being here. And I'm sorry we couldn't get to everybody who had a question, but we have to move on. Now, the next part of the meeting tonight, because of the rearrangement of the agenda, which was approved earlier, is to go on to item 7, new business, item letter A, redistricting report approval ? Now, to say anything about approving the redistricting report, we first have to consider an emergency motion. The way we consider an emergency motion, because this would not normally not be voted on tonight, is to have the delegates decide, is this a matter where the timing is crucial? And as such, only delegates can vote at this point. I'm sorry, is somebody trying to speak to me?
No.
No, it's a
Okay.
chair moving.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so to go on with this part of the program, we need to make a motion that this is an emergency.
Charles,
then
I'll make
and-
the motion that this is an emergency due to the deadline. This map has to be submitted this week, and so I think we have to vote tonight. We have no other option. My motion.
I
is
second
that
their
it is-
motion.
Thank you, Mary.
Okay, thank you, Claire. Thank you, Mary. Now, as to speaking to the motion of whether or not this is an emergency, I've had a request from several organizations to have Lee Robbins speak first before other people. And Lee, you have the floor for a brief discussion of whether or not this is an emergency. Please be brief.
Give it a 2-minute.
Yeah, 2 minutes, Lee.
Okay,
Your
so
2 minutes.
just briefly, and I put it into the chat also, I don't think it's appropriate for CSFN to do this as an emergency. We are representing neighborhoods. We claim to be their voices, and we are not providing time to take it back to the neighborhoods and at least to have the boards have a chance to discuss it and come up with a conclusion. And it would really be, I believe, a falsehood to state to the Redistricting Commission, the supervisors and the voters that we, representing neighborhood organizations across the city, think it's all just fine and it should be approved. So basically what I have to say, and I put it into the chat also.
Okay, thank you, Lee. Now, speaking further to whether or not this is an emergency, would anybody like to raise their hand? Mary? Mary Harris?
And Dick Frisbee has his hand up too.
I saw your hand up.
Unmute, Mary, unmute.
Yeah, okay,
Our newsletter
you're
was
not muted now,
26
Mary. Go
Okay,
ahead.
our newsletter was 26 pages and it was extensive explanation and map on what we were proposing. And that was the opportunity to pass it on to our organizations and have their input. So I thought that we did due diligence.
Okay, further discussion of the motion.
Dick has his hand up.
Dick?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate Lee's point. My concern is if we don't get it in now, it's going to be too late and we're going to be overwhelmed by far more radical or groups that have far more political positions than we do. So it may have some warts on it from a timing point of view. I really do appreciate that. But I do believe the time is of the essence. Thank you.
And we had a number of meetings.
Okay, thank you, Claire.
Including with the task force. And so a lot of the neighborhoods
can
were
you-
there and spoke. So we've all been involved in this for more than a month, couple months now.
Okay, Claire, can you see any other hands up? I'm not having difficulty seeing a screen.
I'm looking.
Yes, Diana Taylor's hand is up.
Oh, yes, Diana does have her hand up.
Hi, Lee Robbins is our delegate for the Barbary Coast Neighborhood Association, but I just want to say that we didn't get this newsletter with Mr. Bowman's report, which is extensive, and until just a few days ago. And we saw that it was in the February newsletter. If it was, I'm sorry if it was distributed earlier, we did not see it. And I get notice of the newsletters. So we didn't have time to discuss it. We'd already submitted, the Barbary Coast Neighborhood Association had already submitted our letter. And we did consult with many other neighborhood organizations within District 3. So this didn't just come about as our independent one, and it does expand District 3. It doesn't, and we considered both demographics as well as other community of interests and ethnicity. So we were very responsible in our report.
I'm not seeing any other hands, and I don't know if anyone on the phone line has put up
have my hand raised, Claire.
Oh, you did, Glenn? Okay, I wasn't sure if that was a raise or you were receding. Okay.
Okay, so I wanted to, since I was the editor for the newsletter, yes, we did send Lee Robbins' group and the president. We added her on at the last minute, but the both of them got the newsletter the same time everyone else did. And, we were trying to get the newsletter to everybody as soon as possible. But, it was a moving target, and it was difficult to get it completed. But that being said, everybody got this newsletter as soon as possible, including Diane Taylor and Lee Robbins, along with the rest of us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Glenn. Is there anyone who wants to speak to whether or not this is an emergency? We have to get an emergency declared before we go on to discuss the merits of approving or not the Bowman plan. But right now, we're concerned with, is this an emergency because of the timing of the matter, et cetera?
I have my hand raised.
Is there anybody else who wants to speak to this? Mary Eliza?
Yeah, I just want to say that what I understand about what we're doing here is we're proposing a general plan. It's sort of like to be amended later, probably. And the reason I understand what I'm hearing from some people anyway, is that if we don't get something in, like a sketch or some kind of idea in now, it'll be harder for us to speak later. Is that true?
That's the understanding, yes, that the deadline for the early submission is now, or we lose our opportunity to represent anybody.
So we don't have to necessarily say
That's why
that-
it's an emergency. That's,
Okay,
your point is that's the emergency.
that was my question.
Okay, thank you, Mary Eliza. Thank you, Claire. Mary Eliza, do we have a poll we can pull up for this, or do we need to count hands?
Let me try pulling up the poll. Hold on a second.
Sorry?
We're missing Cindy, so Mary
Yeah,
Eliza is going to give it a.
So I've never done this before, but I think I can try. Let's see.
Yeah, we are shorthanded tonight. And thank you very much, Mary Eliza, for
Did it
filling in
come up?
for Cindy, who is running the election as we speak.
Is it there?
Nope.
No,
Great.
maybe we should raise hands, may I suggest?
Is it there now?
Yeah, it's probably quicker.
Is it there now?
Nope.
No,
All right, that didn't
yeah,
work.
my hand raised,
So-
voting for emergency.
Delegates only.
Well, it's here. I just don't know how to get it to go up.
Let's do it by
Okay.
hand.
Yeah,
No,
do it.
never
Okay,
mind.
there's a few, okay, there's a few people that had their hands up for questions. I don't know if they're the
the
old
vote.
hands
They're
or
all-
new hands for voting.
Those were all,
Voting.
those were all done. It was Diana, it was Mary, it was Glenn Rogers, it was yourself, Mary. All those questions have been answered. Those hands never went down.
Sorry.
Yeah, everybody who has a
Back.
hand up, please put it down now.
Speak votes for the emergency.
So now, yeah, Charles, take the vote for the emergency. And we can raise our hands on the screen if that works for everybody. And the two on the phone, if they're both delegates, can speak up.
Right. Well, I know that
Take the vote.
Doing.
Eileen Boken is. Okay,
Speak is voting in support of the emergency.
okay. Fully
I'm
in
only
support of
seeing
the-
16 people on my screen and there's 24 participants.
I'm sorry,
you-
who's that?
Everybody.
Are you
basically.
taking the vote now, Charles? Delegates only.
Delegates only. So Diana, your hand is raised, but Lee is your delegate, right? Thank you. Okay, Glenn, can you help me count? Oh, wait, here we go.
Oh, here is the
No,
poll.
this is signing in.
Got the poll.
No, no.
No, that's just, I'm trying to get, I think I have
That's
to
the old
close
one.
this one out before I can go to
No,
the next one.
Don't put anything back up. Let's delegates only.
All right.
2, 3,
Are we voting or not?
4.
Okay,
We're
just wait
voting
a second. Give
for the
Mary
emergency.
Eliza one more chance to pull up this poll.
Never mind. I'm not going to do it.
I've
Okay.
counted 9 so far. How
Okay.
many delegate hands are up? Take a
Everybody,
vote, Charles.
okay, everybody raise your hand. Yes, this is an emergency. Raise your hand. Yes, this is an emergency. And Glenn, will you help me on the count here?
Yeah, I got 8.
I got 11 with Eileen.
Wow. 1,
And Owen on the phone thinks it's an emergency as well.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
12.
5, 6, 7, 8,
I got.
Same.
3, 4,
9, 10,
5, 6,
11.
7,
I've got 11.
What
I've got
about Mary
9.
Eliza? We
Okay.
can't see. We just see secretary picture.
Yeah, I've got 13 if counting Maria Eliza and the 2 on the phone.
I'm not voting. Rick is voting. He's the alternate.
Okay, then it's 12.
Okay, keep your
Okay.
hands up, please.
And,
1, 2,
Where's Rick?
4, 5, 6.
Greg's
7,
changing hands.
Yeah, my arm got tired.
11.
You're trying to cheat.
I've got 13.
Okay, Claire says we have 13, including the phones,
The 2 phones, yes.
including the phones, including Mary Eliza.
No.
Put our hands down. Anyone over 75 can put their hands down.
Okay, it's 13. You can put your hand down now, Charles. It's
Okay.
13.
13, therefore we have an emergency.
Okay, and now the
Now, would
motion
anybody like
is, the motion I'll make is to
Okay, would
accept
anyone like,
the map as, the map and the explanation as created by Chris Bowman on behalf of CSFN.
Second.
Thank you.
Now we're gonna vote on it.
okay, so we have, do we have a motion to,
I just made it,
I second it.
I seconded it, yeah.
right.
okay, I'm sorry, I'm having problems here. My
the
internet is
motion-
unstable, so
The motion is
whoever was
to
just speaking,
The motion is to submit the map and with all the supporting documentation as created by Chris Bowman on behalf of CSFN.
okay, thank you, Claire. Do we have a second on the motion?
Yeah, we
I
have two
second
seconds.
it.
Gregory and Dick both seconded it.
Okay, very good. Discussion on the motion. Claire, you made the motion. Would you like to go first?
Yeah, and with all due respect to the couple of districts that are having some difficulty with the lines and the process. And again, we would ask that they take a careful look at their districts and also understand if you keep certain areas in, it impacts other districts around them. So we believe that what we have is the best we can do for now. We may, in fact, be required to modify that, or the task force itself may modify the proposal, but we think it is the most inclusive of the vast majority of member delegates for CSFN. And that's why we actually asked Chris to work for us on our behalf and do this. So that's why we're supporting submitting his work, and it was long and extensive. And everybody still has an opportunity to make their case before the committee.
All right. Thank you, Claire. Okay, Dave. Dave Osgood? Dave, are you muted?
I don't have my hand up.
Oh, sorry.
Sure looked like it to me.
You're getting a free shot, Dave.
Okay, other discussion of the motion? I'm not seeing other hands up. And again, this will be primarily members that will be speaking, members voting, delegates. Okay, Claire, are you seeing any other hands up?
I don't see
no,
any time to vote.
at this point.
Let's vote.
Okay, on the motion, Claire, would you please restate the motion?
The motion is to submit the map with the supporting documentation as created by Chris Bowman on behalf of CSFN. With all due respect to those districts that may have issues, they still have the opportunity to speak before the committee and make modifications. But as submitted by Chris Bowman, represents the majority of delegate neighborhoods through CSFN. And the motion is to submit his product on our behalf.
Okay, thank you, Claire. On the motion then, hands raised, please, to support the motion to submit the Bowman plan for CSFN. Raise your hands, please. Claire and Glenn, please help me.
Sure.
Okay, we need the phone votes. We need Mary Eliza.
I have 11. How about the phone votes?
Owen
Speak
says-
votes to,
Okay, that brings it to 13.
Rick is
speak
voting.
votes to,
Rick
I
is
got 11.
voting.
That's 12 with Eileen.
That's
speak
13.
votes to oppose.
Oh,
Okay,
Oh, sorry, that's 12.
back to 11 for me.
1, 2, 3,
6,
4,
keep your hands up, please.
8, 9, 10, 8.
12.
Evan,
I've got
Evan pictures.
12.
Owen Hart, is your hand up?
It is, but you can't see me. It's on the phone.
So that's
Right, okay.
13. Mari, are you up or down?
I'm not voting. Rick is
Rick Hall
voting.
Rick is
voted up.
Got it.
for her.
Okay.
Okay, Rick is voting.
So we're 13.
Okay, hands down. So we have 13 yay, one at least nay, and at least one abstention. Is that correct?
Can you please, Charles, can you please ask for a no vote?
Yeah, that's
A
what,
formal no vote
okay.
by hand?
I heard,
Yes.
okay. We already have orally Eileen Boken voting no.
And I'm
Other hands for anybody voting
certainly
no.
voting no too, but we didn't get an opportunity to do that
Right.
because it was never asked for.
Right. So
Gonna do
Charles,
that
call
now.
for the negative vote.
Okay,
All those opposed.
we called for the aye votes. Now, can we have the nay votes, please?
All opposed.
All opposed.
1, 2, 3.
I see 3, 4 with Eileen.
Okay. So that's four nays with Eileen.
I believe so.
I get 3.
No, we had, I got 4.
4.
No, what's wrong with my screen?
Okay, four. So the vote count is
4 no's. Yes, with
4
Eileen.
noes
Correct.
and 13 ayes.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, and one abstention.
Doesn't count.
Right. So that is 13 to 4.
It passes.
Yeah, it passes. Substantial majority.
Thank you. I'd like to urge all of you from BCNA and District 3 and stuff, make sure that you are part of that process and participate with the task force. They may or may not listen to us. And by the way, there are some others, and Potrero too. I was born on the Hill, but my community is no longer there except for our church, I think. But there's going to be some real wild and very obscure presentations with that task force, and I think you guys will have a lot of credibility because you're well organized and you're well spoken and you know your neighborhood. So please participate in that because our process, I think, is a good one, but there's room for adjustment. So
Claire, I appreciate that. I appreciate your comments, but we have been involved from the beginning. We have organized with our neighbors. We have presented a lot of data to the committee and a map, and we should have submitted it to, we just didn't think that, and we didn't get the report from the newsletter until the 10th of February. So I can take responsibility that we didn't submit our plan to you. But on the other hand, you were pretty late in getting us the information.
but make sure it goes to the task force and let
Yeah,
them know
they-
we've all had the discussion. You know,
We've been talking about it for 2 months and we're not the deciding people.
We're
There's
not.
there's, you know, a lot, dozens of people submitting maps and other, you know, David Pilpel wants to send the OMI to District 7. I mean, it's crazy what's going on. So keep with the process, submit your map and fingers crossed.
Yeah.
And
be
Is it possible
Okay,
for?
thank
is it
you.
possible-
Thank you. One person at a time, please. The chair will decide who speaks. Diana, just wanted to thank you for what you just said. Mary, thank you for what you just said. Okay, other people.
Emma,
Lee.
Is it possible for the submission to state generally and perhaps cite specifically that some neighborhoods had concerns about their particular areas and they can be expected to submit further suggestions to the Redistricting Commission?
Chris, could a general statement, 2 sentences, be applied?
Let me, am I muted or unmuted?
No, you're unmuted.
Unmuted.
I'm unmuted. Yeah, I need to talk to Dick Frisbee, because he'll be the one that's going to be submitting the whole packet, because he's in the city. I'm stuck here in Yountville.
Okay, right.
But he has all the documents. We need to double check that they're letter perfect, and I'm running it low on my battery. So
Right, okay, so thank you.
Wait, Charles.
I think that can be done.
Let me correct something. I'm not going to submit anything without at least you and Chris and Nat approving it. So the verbiage, I am sort of, as I've told some others, I'm merely the scribe, and I just make sure. I don't think I'm qualified to write that sentence. Lee, if you want to write two or three sentences, this cannot be a long soliloquy.
Right.
I'll run it by Chris and Nat, and we will get in, and I'll be glad to let you see it before we send it in. But we will put something in.
And I think that's my point to both Lee and Diana, that
wait
you
a second,
can submit your own.
Al has his hand up.
Oh yeah, I just want,
Okay,
I mean,
but Al has his hand up. Al is next.
can you hear me?
Fontes, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say, we're THT, we're going to have to publicly, disagree with this decision, and I just want to let everybody know that. It's, I got to stand with Diana, and we're just really gonna. This is something we're just gonna really have to dissent on. Just want to let everybody know that.
Okay, thank you for letting us know.
Yeah, and you should. I mean, that you're representing your neighborhoods, and you need to do that.
Okay, I think
I have my hand up.
Okay.
Just briefly, I want to say thank you to Chris, and I did speak to JR, and I did speak to people in both. I did not speak too much to people in District 8, but I feel as if we are doing a good thing generally. And I think that the process is something that people are not that familiar with. And the fact that we need to do some kind of preemptive strike, I guess it is, to put something in, so we can speak later. I think that is something that we need to mention, at least in the newsletter.
Right.
I think people are not aware of exactly how complicated this is.
Yes.
And thank you so much, Chris, for helping us once again.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you for all of you who.
Thank you. My battery's running low, so I gotta leave.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Thank you for what you've done. And ultimately, of course, it will be the redistricting task force that comes up with a plan that's nobody is happy with. And that's what we have to look forward to. Okay, going back to item 4, Roman numeral 4, approval of draft minutes for November GA and for the January GA. Members only, do you have any additions or corrections to make to those General Assembly minutes for November, for January? Okay, seeing none, without objection, they are approved. Okay, item 5, officers' reports. President, I've done my usual monitoring of Board of Supervisors meetings, planning meetings, and was principally of the Ethics Committee Commission meeting that I've been involved with twice now, given public testimony for, and I will have more to say about this if we have time later on. Thank you. Over to you, Glenn.
So I would like to say the newsletter was especially challenging this month. Not only was Chris not always available, but I think I spoke with him the day before the newsletter was finally published. That was my only opportunity to really fine tune the newsletter. So, you know, forgive me for having any problems or it being taking so long. That being said, I wanted to suggest that we spend more money on the internet, on our, you know, so that we can have a better connection for presidents that are people that are not able to be heard clearly. And then I'd like to ask for the bylaws commission to meet and decide on having officers be in their posts for every 2 years. Please meet.
Thank you.
And please meet and make that happen so we don't have to have a nominating committee. Please.
Duly noted.
And one more thing, and have it be able to be done by Zoom.
Oh, no question.
Thank you.
Okay,
That's
thank
it.
you, Glenn.
That's our vice president's report.
Okay, thank you, Glenn. Recording secretary, of course, is not here. She's running the election. Corresponding secretary, Hal.
Nothing to report. I will put, if anybody wants to see the debate, it probably doesn't matter now, but I'll put the link in the chat for the David Chu replacement.
We saw it and I was very impressed. Thank you.
It's on what?
I said we saw it and I was very impressed by the way that one was handled. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Good compliment for Al and Nick.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, Nick always does a good job.
Okay, treasurer's report.
Yes, give me 1 second. I have the financials. And I'm just trying to see how I share screen here. Give me 1 second. I have the financials through, I'm not quite sure how to do this in share screen. My apologies. I have the financials through January and financials through December. I presented the December financials last month, so if anybody needs an additional copy of those, please let me know. But for the 12 months into December, we ended up with a net income in excess of expenses of of about $2,100. For the month of January, we have negligible activity. We had interest income of $27 and change. We had expenses of $362 and change. So we had expenses in excess of revenue of $335 for the month of January. And we have in the bank a little north of $62,000. So we're still in sound financial shape. We had a profit of $2,000 for the $2,000 plus for the calendar year ended December 2021. I distributed these to some of the executive committee or and the like, and I'm sorry I can't get them up on share screen. That was my intent to do that, and I'm not sure how to do that, so my apologies.
Okay, thank you, Greg. Well intentioned. Well done.
If anybody wants a copy of financials, please email me and I will send them to you.
Okay, thank you. And we will see you and them again in XCOM next week. Any other questions for the treasurer? Okay, before we go on with committee reports, I'd like to just go back to somebody who could not be here earlier when we were all checking in to give our usual update on Rescue SF. Carolyn, are you here and able to do that now? Carolyn, are you here?
I haven't seen her.
Okay, she was here at one point, but anyway. Okay, committee reports, XCOM, executive committee.
Okay, first of all, I wanted to thank J.R. Epler for being here. I'm sorry that we didn't agree on everything, but we would love to have your cooperation and be part of CSFN again. That being said, we wrote the resolution and we will be discussing that later. That's my report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Glenn. Land use and transportation, Mary Liza.
I have nothing to add. It's on the newsletter. Thank you.
Okay, great. Great, thank you very much. Government elections, George. George,
George, wake up.
are you muted?
He's muted.
Yeah, he's-
George. And I think
George.
I think he nodded off again.
No, I just talking.
Okay,
Can you hear me?
now we
You
can.
can.
Yeah, okay. As everybody knows, we had our election today. The big thing was the four people running to in the primary to take over David Chu's spot. And that will be winnowed down to the top two. And that election is held 100 days after this election, which means we will have a special election, I believe, on April 22nd for just who wins that is now going to represent District 17 state representative.
Assembly District.
If I jump, I'm afraid to, the way the elections are going, but if I jump ahead to the June 6th or 7th elections, there's been a proposed vacancy tax. There's about 40,500 vacant apartments in San Francisco, and Dean Preston wants to have a vacancy tax. And that looks like it's steamrolling to the June ballot. We also have several housing propositions because with the goal of making, as people, I don't want to get into this, SB 9 is state legislation that became effective January 1st, which splits lots in all kinds of neighborhoods. And adds units. So rather than the state controlling, 3 separate supervisors have entertained legislation to create duplex legislation or quad legislation, so that RH1 is essentially gone now because of SB 9. So they're trying to get rid of any impact of SB 9 by making everything upzoned throughout San Francisco. And they all have different versions. I'm not going to go through them. They're probably going to merge. It's a real dogfight. Then there'll be the Jessup Bodine recall. And interestingly enough, I'll just end with, there's quite a few others that may or may not sneak in. In fact, I'll probably ask Charles about anything from ethics. But Aaron Peskin has his own brand of recall legislation where, for example, if you have an election coming naturally, like the school board did, some of the members, why recall them when they only have 4 months to go on their term? So that also may get through, but there's a lot of it seems to be infighting right now among every person. So it's still very uncertain what's going to happen in June. And that's my report for the moment.
Okay. George, thank you for your committee report. Thank you for your committee meeting with Chris and going through the process of vetting his plan and getting it to the GA for our vote tonight.
Thank you.
Okay. Open space, Glenn.
Thank you. So, as you know, the thrust of the Hunters Point lawsuit with Bonner and Bonner is that they are going to monitor the number of people that are ill in Hunters Point and be able to come up with a statement that this place is unhealthy, and the reason it's unhealthy is because of toxicity and radioactivity. But there's not a lot of people moving into Hunters Point as far as I can see. What we do have is people buying these green cards that are allowed people from China able to for $1 million able to become American citizens. And once these people become citizens, they don't move into these residences because I think they probably realize that they're not safe. And and so I think this is sounds like it's a flawed plan. I think better to monitor the people in Treasure Island, which are numerous, and with the same kind of conditions of toxicity and radioactivity, rather than Hunters Point. I did mention that to the concerned legal professionals, and I haven't heard their response. That's my report. Thank you. You have anything to
Okay,
say?
thank you. Thank you, Glenn. Bylaws. Claire.
Now that we have finished with all of our meetings on redistricting, we're going to focus on bylaws. So that's next.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Okay, legislative liaison, Eileen.
The state legislature is back in session. And thank you, Charles, took a position of support for the Tuolumne River Trust report to the San Francisco PUC about its long-term vulnerability assessment report, which has to do with water supplies. So we did take a support, and which was the report in many ways was critical of the PUC and how they calculate demand and how they set up their modeling for what was called the designer drought. So those are the two items. Thank you.
Charles?
Okay, thank you, Eileen. I'm not hearing anything more, so I will assume that you are finished. Sorry about that. Okay, end of committee reports. Unfinished business. Letter A, Hunters Point. Glenn, did you want to speak about that?
I think I should read the resolution for Hunters Point. That being said, I'm not able to find it easily. And would somebody else be able to read that?
Well, we don't have to read it tonight, do we? Because it's in the newsletter, and we're not going to vote on it tonight until next week. No, sorry, next month. And at that point, I think it should be, at least the whereases should be read, right?
Yeah, you mean the resolves, you mean?
Resolves, right.
Yeah. Forgive me, I don't have it in front of me, and I've been looking for it and I haven't. So could someone read the resolve for me?
It's okay. We can do it later. It's in the.
All right, thank you.
Okay, but George has his hand up. George?
Yeah.
Can't hear you, George.
He's freezing.
Yeah.
And I also talked to Richard Drury, who's an attorney regarding this matter, was that it was the Navy Yard's responsibility to clean up Hunters Point. This is where they cleaned ships off, painted ships. It was highly radioactive. The Navy spent several years supposedly cleaning. They did a horrible job. And then Lennar hired a company called Todco to come in and test the soil.
Yeah, but George, is this something we should be discussing next month, excuse me?
Well, I don't know when you want to discuss it. It's really the shortening of their what I think they need to do. They need to. The bottom line, what I want to explain to everybody is Todco, who was hired, gave regular samples to the state, and CEQA approved the project based on the fake samples they received, and then went ahead and approved the project, and the state never rescinded the approval. So they've been raging ahead, although everybody knows that CEQA, the whole thing was fake and set up. And that's all I wanted to say is this is one of the biggest scams that's ever been perpetrated environmentally in San Francisco.
Okay, thank you, George.
By the way, that was Tetra Tech.
Is it Tetra Tech?
Yeah, it was Tetra Tech.
I'm sorry.
And I
Dan.
do have the resolution in front of me. I can read the resolve court portion if you'd like.
Okay, go ahead.
Therefore, be it resolved that the U.S. Navy undertake comprehensive cleanup of Bayview Hunters Point, and the mayor of San Francisco and the city and county of San Francisco Board of Supervisors and the California governor and environmental agencies of the state of California demand the remediation and take all necessary steps within their power to force the remediation. Be it further resolved that the new and comprehensive testing of the entire original Hunters Point shipyard site, including parcels transferred to the city and county of San Francisco and those developed or being developed by Lennar Corporation 5 Point in the Bayview Hunters Point community. I think, be it further resolved that core sampling, not just scanning, be concluded with independent community oversight. And lastly, and be it further resolved that the comprehensive cleanup, not capping, of all radioactive and toxic waste at the Superfund site and adjacent areas to prevent further pollution of our community and the San Francisco Bay, where rising sea levels threaten flooding, which will spread the contamination throughout the city and county and beyond, be implemented. Thank you. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Glenn. Okay, unfinished business, letter B, state ballot measure campaign contribution, question mark. Do we want to support the campaign to put a state ballot initiative on the ballot to stop the steal from Tallahassee, from Sacramento? Mary Eliza, you want to say something briefly about that?
Rick, would you like to say something about
Rick,
it? Thanks.
sorry, Rick.
Sure. The Our Neighborhood Voices measure would put on the ballot a state initiative that changes the Constitution to essentially put control of land use back in the hands of the cities and counties. There's been some misinformation. It does not affect CEQA. It doesn't affect the Fair Housing Act, but it gives cities cities and counties the final say in anything that the state puts out that cities disagree with. So, for example, if cities wanted to not implement SB 9 the way the state is requiring and not have it be ministerial, then the cities and counties would have the choice to do that on an individual city and county basis, and takes back to the cities and counties some of the power, the land use power that has been taken away from us by the California state legislature. So that's basically what it does. And, you know, I've personally contributed a lot to the OMV, and I would encourage CSFN to make a contribution also.
Okay, and Rick, we've heard from Glenn Richards about this before. We've heard from you before. We've heard from Mary Eliza before. So to consider this possible course of action, we would have to have this declared to be an emergency tonight in order to vote on it. Does anyone want to suggest that? Sorry?
Just someone coughing.
I suggest, this is Leanne, Diamond Heights. I suggest that we make this an emergency and act on it tonight.
Based on
Eileen probably speak, seconding the motion.
We need a second? Was that what?
We got a second.
Okay, thank you. That's why I couldn't hear clearly.
Okay, so we can consider this an emergency and decide whether or not to vote on contributing to the campaign tonight. Would anyone like to speak to why this is an emergency and why we should contribute money to the campaign?
This is Leanne from Diamond Heights. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
And we have a housing project being developed right now on Diamond Street that's not going to be affordable housing, and it's going to go ahead anyway. It's luxury housing, and we were told that it didn't matter what the neighborhood wanted, or even if there was an environmental review, that the developer can go ahead and do anything they want because of this bill. And that's just not good enough for San Francisco. We need to make whatever we can take back of our own power needs to happen, and we need to support it.
Amen.
Okay, thank you, Leanne.
Okay.
Other people to speak to the emergency? Is this an emergency that we need to vote on tonight? Greg?
Greg Scott?
Yes.
Greg, are you?
I think this is something we need to take action on. We need to make it clear to the people in Sacramento that they need to stay out of our local land use. And I think it is urgent.
Amen.
Okay, thank you, sir. Glenn?
Yes, I've been given a phone number if someone's going to pick up my signatures, but the phone number I have is incomplete. Looking at it on the chat.
I'm sorry, it's Mary. Yes, I'll be picking up the signatures. I'll put it in the correct one. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, if there's no more discussion, Mary Eliza, can you put a poll on the screen to declare the? I'm sorry. Who has a hand up?
Hands.
Barbara.
Barbara, yeah, I've contributed to our neighborhood, and I'm also collecting signatures, and I think it's paramount that this is such a critical point and we can't put it off, because I believe that we have to have all our signatures in and everything in by April, and it's fast approaching, and they need support and they need the money, and it's so important.
How many signatures do you need?
A million.
Yeah.
Oh, no, what? No, it's more than a million, right? How many, Rick?
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, it's huge.
How many, Rick? Remember?
About 1 million verified, but that means they have to get like 1.3 million.
Right.
So has
So-
someone hired people to collect signatures? Because it's impossible unless you have a campaign that is absolutely devoted to doing that and people paid to do it.
That's why they need the money, so they can afford to hire people. I just want to mention, I put my phone number in the chat. If anybody has signatures that they want to, that they're collecting, that they want to hand in to us to process, my phone number is there. Call me and we'll work out how I'm going to get your signatures to the people that need them. Because Dennis unfortunately is out of town now.
And do you have
Okay, thank you.
do you have the paperwork, because we have to sign a specific piece of paper?
I got it all, baby.
Okie dokie.
Okay, to the emergency then, is this an emergency? Can we vote on that? Mary Eliza?
I would just go ahead and do the raised hands because I don't seem to be able to know how to produce the polls. They're written, but I don't know how to send them off.
Let's do a hand vote.
Hand vote.
Okay.
Do a hand.
Okay, hand vote.
Okay.
Delegates only.
Speakers in support.
Delegates only. Is
Speakers in
this an
support.
emergency?
Speakers in
Something we need to
support
vote on
of the
some-
emergency. Diamond Heights
yes, an
votes yes.
emergency?
7, 8,
Okay, Diamond Heights is yes.
1, 2,
10.
3, 4, 5,
Speakers yes.
7, 8, 9, 10.
I've
Did you
got
vote
12.
yes?
Charles, I don't know if you're voting. Charles.
Who?
Yeah, hang on a second. Let me get
Oh,
my
yeah.
video.
Are you voting?
Did you vote, Glenn?
Yes.
I voted
1, 2, 3,
13.
5, 6, 7, 8,
Okay,
10, 11, 12.
13. If Eileen, are you?
In.
Speakers in support.
That's
Okay,
13.
Okay.
That's 13.
I got 13 too.
Yep.
Yay.
Got the same screen this time.
Oh, Did we
do we have any
mention,
opposed?
did we mention what the
Anyone
amount
opposed
was?
to the emergency?
Oh, we did the
Very-
emergency already. Are we voting
No,
on?
he has to take the vote for the opposition, Mary. Let him finish the voting process.
But we're voting on an amount, or we're just voting on the emergency?
Just voted on the emergency
Oh,
and now
good.
he
I'm
needs to
sorry.
take.
I thought
Let's
we
keep
got-
quiet, Maury.
Thank you.
No, we've approved the emergency. Now we just need the poll, if you can pull it up, about should we support it?
It's not going to be a poll. You just
Yeah, we're
need
gonna
to.
do
Yeah,
the
just
same
do
hand
the
raise.
hands. The poll didn't work before. I don't know what's wrong with it.
We're continuing the hand raising vote.
I do the hand raising.
Yeah.
Okay, what the poll was supposed to say is, should we support the state
Resolution.
initiative campaign with $1,000 to start?
Oh. Speakers in support.
So moved.
In
So
support.
moved.
$1,000 to support could be continued later on. More money can be spent later on, but $1,000 tonight to support.
Okay. So it's
Diamond
moved and
Heights says
seconded.
yes.
3, 4, 5,
1, 2, 3.
Speakers in support.
10, 11, 12,
4, 5,
13.
6,
I see 13.
9, 10, 11. I don't know. You count.
For yourself and with Speak, we have 13.
I get a different number.
Okay, keep your hands up, please.
1, 2, 3,
Diamond Heights says yes.
5,
That's 14.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I get 13. Whatever.
Okay. The
Okay.
cat behind Glenn raised her paw.
Okay, so are we finished with the affirmative votes? Okay, hands down. Okay, now, negative votes, votes against supporting the campaign with a initial contribution of $1,000. I'm not seeing any
I don't
hands up.
see anybody.
Seeing none.
Yay.
None.
Yay.
Okay, motion passed.
Yay.
Okay, the only other item under unfinished or new business is the Ethics Commission ballot measure preview. Just quickly, we will probably be seeing this next month. I've been in contact with 2 of the staff members. The hangup right now is that they're still stuck on a meet and confer requirement from the city and from the department heads that all of the possible concerns of the workers have been met, and also the concerns of the nonprofits that do business with the city have been met. They're making progress on that. The final meeting will be next Friday, the 25th, I believe. And then if that is concluded by March 4th, the Ethics Commission ballot will be on the June ballot. And that is a consummation devoutly to be wished, as people are in favor, a lot of people are in favor of it. So that being said, if that happens, then we will be seeing more action on this next month at next month's GA. Okay, any questions? If not, we will go on to lastly, the conversation continues. I hope that you all are in favor of celebrating the semi-centennial this year. That was what the president's message was about. There are all sorts of possibilities of things to do in the next few months, culminating in September with a commemorative issue of the newsletter, because that is the month, September 1972, that CSFN first started to meet. And then in December, a holiday meeting, and more about that later to be developed. Okay.
Greg had his hand up.
Sorry.
Greg had his hand up.
Somebody needs to tell me to whom and to what address I sent the check for $1,000.
We'll do that.
Just send it to me, Greg.
Oh, we'll do that. I will do that. Okay, we'll do that. No problem. Rick and I will do that.
Super, thanks.
Mari will talk to you, Greg.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anything?
It's got a secret post office box.
Right. Anyone want to say anything else at this point about the semi-centennial? We were talking about that every meeting from now on through September and December.
Okay.
Are we going mask off?
What?
Mask off, mask on.
Mask on. Personal preference.
Mask can come off now, right? Isn't that the rule? It's the 15th.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh yeah. By the fall, masks will be off. Yes.
Charles,
Okay.
in terms of the history, do you want me to drop that one box off for you, Charles?
Oh yes. Thank you very much, Greg.
Should I bring that back to you?
We've been talking back and forth about that. Yeah.
I'll drop that off at your place.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you. You have
I
my
will do
address? Okay, great. Thank you
You
very
can-
much, sir.
We'll get that offline. Thank you.
Okay, great. And then if there's no further business tonight, I would like to adjourn tonight's meeting in memory of Bob Planthold, former ethics person and great advocate for the disabled, and Bruce Pettit, who was a reporter for the Bay Area. I forget the name of the paper.
Oh, for the Independent, and it was the News Call Bulletin before then.
Oh, News Call Bulletin. I used to deliver that.
Yep. No, Bruce had been around. He also wrote liturgical music. He was an incredible writer and composer and singer, by the way. He was in the choir that
Great.
sang his liturgical music.
Yeah, these are two individuals who will be greatly missed.
Yeah.
Amen.
Right.
Is anything going to be said about membership?
Yeah. Oh, Leanne Prifty joined.
Oh.
From what organization?
Yeah, so Diamond Heights is back.
Right, we renewed.
Right, thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
What
Okay.
about the rest of the groups?
Yeah. Are we getting Cathedral Hill back? Are we getting Polk, any of the Polk?
How about just the
How about
regulars?
that Epler? How about Epler? I tried to talk him into joining, but it didn't happen.
No, he's mad. We'll work on it.
Mad.
Okay.
But
You'll
supposedly,
always be mad if you don't mind me saying.
there's a possibility, you mentioned something with Hunter's Point. Let's talk offline about it, okay?
All
Okay.
right.
Okay, so works are in progress for the other membership items. And with that upbeat note, we are adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone. Good meeting.
Nice to see you, Leanne.
Thank you, Leanne.
We made a
Okay,
lot of progress.
Glad to see Leanne back.
Thank you. Okay, Claire, Mary, Eileen.
Thank you all very much.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
You can hang
Happy
up
day
the
after
phone if you
Valentine's
want,
Day.
Charles. I'm gonna be ending it when I end it, that ends it, since I'm the one that started it, I think.
Okay.
Bye.
Arrivederci.
Arrivederci.
I'm hanging on till the last dog is hung.
Okay. I'm just wondering, I hope this worked.
Well, we've been told that when you and I hang up, that that's it.
Yeah,
Then-
that's what we were told, yeah. So
So
if-
we're waiting for 2 more people to leave, I think.
I think if I turn it off, I think it just ends. But what I'm gonna do is, I saved the chat. We'll see what happens. Everything should work, who knows? I don't know how
Okay.
what the polls didn't work. I don't know why that happened, That was
Right.
weird.
Well, that's over. So let's let
Worry
sleeping
about
dogs.
it some other day.
But in the meantime, we still have, according to my screen, we still have Diana on screen and Al Harris on screen.
But that may just be that they just haven't done it, haven't hung up yet. So I think if I turn it off, it turns off, to be quite honest.
Okay. But didn't we do that once and you discovered that it was still recording or something like that?
Well, that was because it hadn't been set up for me to end it. And I wasn't the one. Cindy started it, and because she wasn't there to end it, I think that's what the problem was. I think because I'm
Okay.
running it ought to work. But we'll give them
Okay,
a
well,
couple.
let me make a suggestion.
Yes.
Let me make a suggestion. Since I joined after you, should I leave first?
Yeah, you could leave.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mary Eliza. Good job with everything. And to everyone, a good night.
Good night. Go ahead. I'm gonna end it. I'm ending it. Bye. And meeting for all. Bye.